Good morning, and welcome to the Brenda Perryman Show right here on TV 33, WHPR, Comcast 20 in Detroit. And this is a lovely day because we woke up today. And before I begin the show, I'd like to first give my condolences to the family of a colleague, Angelo Henderson, who passed away last Saturday morning. And we all here at TV 33 WHPR, we extend our sympathies to his family, his wife Felicia and his son Grant. He was an asset to this community, and he will definitely be missed. And I remember he and I would inbox Facebook because I wanted him on the show, but his show bumped up right against mine, so we couldn't do it. But just a nice man. So once again, our condolences to the family of Mr. Angelo Henderson. And I have a great show for you today. I have my friends and an asset to talk about asset to the community. I have Doctors Ronald and Blake Livingston, and then I have friends of mine too, Deborah White Hunt and Mr. Bruce Hunt of Detroit Windsor Dance Academy, I should say. But they do have a company. Anyway, we will be seeing them in just a few, but there's some things that I talked about with Dr. Ron and Dr. Blake that I want you to hear that we haven't talked about before. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning.
Doing
Great.
Doing good.
That's good. This weather, tell me this. I always get so afraid of this weather. I say, if I fall, I could fall on my mouth and break my teeth. Have you had anyone?
Not this winter, but it is a common occurrence, especially in seniors, because they tend to, if they have a lower denture, their jaw is so thin, if any traumatic injury to the jaw can result in a fracture.
Really?
Yeah.
I think our last slip and fall injury was in the summer that we saw.
Yeah,
a slip and fall in the summer.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter about the weather. You can slip and fall. If you do, protect your face.
Wow.
Cover up.
I've had, I always think, I don't know why, but I always think about that. That's one thing. If people fall, and if they fall and they break their tooth, can you all repair that?
Yes, we can repair that. And Dr. Blake brought up about the last one we saw, and it was a senior, an older gentleman, and he came in because when he fell, he broke his lower denture, and he was concerned about that. Well, we looked at it, and Dr. Blake saw bleeding under the skin, a bruise on the floor of his mouth. That usually indicates a broken jaw. So
really?
So he pointed out, he says, he's got bleeding on the floor of his mouth. He had a big bruise there, and we looked at it. We took x-rays, and he had a complete vertical fracture of his lower jaw, and he didn't even know it. So his concern was that his denture was broken, but what's more important is that his jaw was broken. So
it's hard to tell that your jaw is broken?
When you have that swelling like that and the bruising, it's in pain anyway, but it's not wobbling back and forth because your muscles are still controlling that bone, so you can't tell. Yeah. Sometimes.
Wow, we got off on that. That's interesting. Yeah. That's interesting to know.
Yeah, speaking of slip and falls, but like I said, and this was in the summertime, but it was as soon as we took the X-ray, we saw it was a complete vertical fracture, and you didn't even know.
But if you do slip and fall and say you break a tooth in half, that can be fixed. It all depends on how far down the tooth is broken. Usually it requires a root canal and a crown on that tooth just because the nerve is injured when you break a tooth in half like that. So there's no way to save the nerve, so we got to remove the nerve from the tooth, but we could still save the tooth.
Wow, that's good. I mean, a lot of people like to have their teeth saved if possible.
Everybody likes to have their natural teeth, and I like to let people have their natural teeth too if we can.
Well,
yeah, and I tell patients every day, I say, God gave you the best set of teeth you're ever going to have, but, we're second best, but we try to be pretty good at that. But God is the best set of teeth you're ever going to have is the ones that God brought you here with. So,
wow,
maintain those.
What is this?
This is a model of a lower jaw. Speaking of fractures, this is a lower jaw. This would be your lower jaw, and this is the area where it connects into the skull, and it pivots back and forth like all joints, like a hip joint. And so that's a lower jaw. I just kind of brought that to demonstrate a few
Wow,
things today.
because I said whoever's mouth that was a big mouth, but that was
yeah.
a jaw.
Yeah, it's a lower jaw.
Oh, okay.
And the teeth go in here on the top.
Your teeth go
Yeah.
up here.
Right.
Now, why did you bring this?
Well, I brought this to show a few things. One thing is we get a lot of questions every single day about dental implants. People want to know, if I lose a tooth, can you just put another tooth back in my jawbone? And we've been able to do that for quite a long time, and we have done them in our office for quite a long time. And I actually brought something that people rarely get to see. They ask about, and Dr. Blake was there in the office one day, and he goes, hey, here's these. We had some implants that were there that we just used for demonstration, but I put them away because they're so small. I forgot about them. And I have an actual implant. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah,
it's tiny.
Oh, if they could see it.
They're about 10 millimeters tall.
Right.
About a centimeter tall.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
And that is what we use to replace your natural tooth by surgically implanting that in your jaw, and then we can set a tooth on top of that that's permanent.
So you screw that in?
Correct.
You have to put a base thing in.
Well,
it.
the good news about this is that nowadays, with the techniques and the technology that's involved, in many cases, when you have the tooth extracted, there's already a hole in the bone. We can take that and insert that into that socket where that tooth came out. Put bone graft material around that, build that up, and suture that into place.
Bone graft material. What?
Bone graft material is typically demineralized, freeze-dried bone from donors. It's all sterilized. There's no risk of any transmission of anything. But it's basically just generic bone tissue that, when it's placed into a socket, like when you take a tooth out and you put some of that material into the socket, it fills in with bone, and it does it more rapidly and with less loss of volume of the jaw. Now, what he was talking about, the implants, we don't need any base material or anything. That when you place an implant, you screw it straight into the jaw, and then the bone grows around that implant.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Right.
And that's what makes it so stable. And I tell this to patient, anybody who's considering an implant, when I discuss it with a patient, when you get an implant, there's a very good chance you're going to be buried with that implant. That implant's going to outlast you.
Really? And you match it to the other teeth?
Yes,
Exactly.
and what we do is we put something on there that acts like what would be a natural tooth if we were going to put a crown on it. You know, when you do a crown, you cut down the natural tooth, a crown or a cap, you cut down the natural tooth, and you cement a porcelain crown on it. And what we do with the implant is we place this implant in the bone, we put a little knob on there that acts like our piece of natural tooth, and we put our crown on there.
Wow. Amazing.
So that implant actually grows and becomes a part of the bone. And the implants, I wanted to mention, too, are about 98% successful, which is an extremely high success rate for any medical procedure. I mean, fillings aren't 98% successful.
People can't get a mouthful of implants, can they?
Yeah. They
Yep,
can.
You can get, well, what we focus on, it depends. If a patient loses a single tooth, the standard of care now in dentistry for single tooth replacement is a dental implant.
Really?
Yes. But if you're missing multiple teeth, we may want to consider something else. Say you're missing a span of teeth, maybe all your back teeth.
Yeah.
We'd want to do something. We aren't going to do a single implant for every back tooth. We're going to do most likely a bridge, which would be, like a bridge on when you have a missing tooth. We do crowns that are connected to each other on the two teeth. Say you have one tooth in the front and one tooth in the back, and you want to span a bridge, which is crowns connected to each other. Now, with implants, we could place two implants, and those will be like our anchors, and we have crowns that are connected to each other to replace each tooth.
So in other words,
And would those crowns be on a plate?
They'd be rested on implants.
on the implants.
Oh.
Now, there's another part that goes on top of the actual implant. This is what the part, you wouldn't even see this. This would be surgically placed in the bone, and when you look in there, you visually wouldn't see it. But then after that heals, we come back and put another part, which is called an abutment. This is a healing cap, but an abutment is a little bit taller than that. Then we can cement the crown onto the abutment. So there's another part that goes to that.
Oh, it is.
But to answer your question, we don't put, you have 32 teeth, we wouldn't put in 32 implants. We would maybe do every couple spaces, put an implant, and then connect the teeth to those spaces, to those implants, and that saves costs.
Well, dental insurance doesn't take care of that, does it?
Some do, some don't. It all depends on what your plan's coverage is. And what we're starting to see is dental insurance doesn't change much in the last 30 years since it's been introduced.
Right.
But what we're
Unfortunately.
starting to see is Dental insurance companies have realized that gum disease is a chronic issue, and if you treat that, then you'll be able to control costs in the future of dentures and implants and partials because people will be retaining their natural teeth. Now, we're also seeing implants. They're becoming the standard of care, so we're starting to see a little bit of implant coverage on certain insurances, but not all of them.
But there is, as every year that goes by, we're seeing more and more coverage by insurance companies because patients demand it. They want that, and they're going to their benefits reps and their jobs and saying, how come I have braces coverage and I don't have any kids, but I need implants, but that's not covered.
That's a good point.
Right.
That's a good
right.
point.
You know, so now the insurance companies are starting to wake up, and just like Dr. Blake said, they're also starting to cover gum disease treatment, scaling root planing more because they understand that it affects your whole body, and in the long run, these insurances are about saving money. So if they can keep you well, they'd rather you take care of the gum disease and not exacerbate your heart problem or your diabetes problem by doing something relatively inexpensive like gum treatment.
And we were talking about diabetes again in the lobby. Now, talk about how the care of your teeth and the correlation with diabetes.
Diabetes is a metabolic disease, as we all know. It has to do with your blood sugar and the way that your body responds to it and insulin. But it's also inflammatory disease, okay? And that's when we see issues with eyes, toes, feet, kidneys, because we have inflammation going on in those areas. And periodontal disease, gum disease, is also an inflammatory disease. And what we're seeing is the bacteria that cause this inflammation in the mouth, when that gets into your bloodstream, that is affecting the same processes that the diabetes affects.
So how do you know that you have inflammation in the mouth?
Inflammation in the mouth, there's certain things that characterize inflammation. Redness, swelling, pain, and heat. That's inflammation. Rubor, calor, dolor, and tumor. That's how they teach it, okay? And those types of things, when you see them in the mouth, you see your gums, you have a little triangle in between your teeth, okay?
Right.
When that's, instead of it being flat and touching your teeth nice and smooth, when it's puffy or it's red or it bleeds when you brush. A lot of people say, oh, yeah, I ask them if they had bleeding when they were brushing. And they say, oh, yeah, I must have been brushing really hard. But that's not the case. The problem is you have inflammation, and that's swelling. When you touch that area that's swollen, it causes blood to come out.
Right. And I mention to patients every day, and they'll still say that, oh, I thought I was brushing too hard, and that's why it was causing bleeding. You can brush your hair hard, your scalp's not going to bleed. So you should not have bleeding when you're doing routine things every day. And if your arm bled every day, you would go to the doctor and have it checked out. But it's okay for your gums to bleed every day, and you think that's a sign of health. That's not a good sign of health. That means something is wrong.
So wouldn't you recommend teeth cleaning a couple of times a year?
For a healthy patient, the one who doesn't have any sort of gingivitis or gum
Right.
disease, periodontitis, once every 6 months is sufficient.
Yes.
But for patients who have gum disease, most likely every 4 months would be the recommendation, with a deep cleaning every 2 years. That's the current standards, but it depends
a deep cleaning? What's a deep cleaning?
A deep cleaning is when we go down in the pockets around where the gum connect to the teeth,
Yeah.
and we clean out the bacteria, plaque, and tartar that builds up down in those areas. We see those in patients with periodontal disease or gum disease, because the gum, where it attaches to the tooth, becomes loose and separated, and stuff gets packed down in there. Doesn't sound pleasant.
No, it doesn't.
Because it's not. But a large percentage of adults in the United States have periodontal disease.
So how do you know you have something stuffed down in your gums, is there any way to indicate that something's not right and you need this good teeth
You'll
cleaning?
usually have pain. We just had a patient this week, and she's in her early 20s. She had the wisdom tooth.
Mm-hmm.
And she was eating popcorn a few days earlier. And after a couple days, she woke up in the middle of the night with this excruciating pain. She came in to us, and she had beautiful teeth, good oral hygiene. And she couldn't understand why she was having this pain. She thought it was just a wisdom tooth. But what it was is that where that wisdom tooth had not come in the mouth all the way, there was one of these pockets that Dr. Blake was talking about around the tooth, and popcorn kernels had pushed way down in there.
Oh, my God.
And she was in severe pain. Good news is, we came in, we flushed it out, cleaned it out for her, and she instantly felt. She says, "What did you do?" Because the pain just went away. And I said, "Well, here, you're eating that pop." And the first thing I do is ask question, "Have you been eating popcorn lately?" And they'll say, "Yeah." How did you know? And I says, "Because we see that happen with popcorn kernels and that kind of thing. If there's any type of pocket around the tooth, in this case, she didn't have gum disease, but she did have a pocket of tissue where the wisdom tooth had to come in all the way. So pockets will just collect around the teeth, and they form areas where bacteria can grow and live, and where food particles will trap.
To answer your question, would you know if you had periodontal disease, if you had gum disease? A lot of times, gum disease is like diabetes or heart disease or high blood pressure. It's a silent type of illness. So you aren't feeling pain. When you're feeling pain, that means you're having a lot of chronic inflammation, a lot of bacteria built up, a lot of infection. Okay.
Now, and one of the main things too, what we see a lot, this patient comes in because a tooth is loose, and this tooth wasn't loose before, now it's loose. Well, that's because the gum disease is advanced to the level where it's destroying the bone around the tooth. So that usually, a lot of times, is the first symptom that patients will notice, and usually the lower front teeth, because they have the smallest roots. They're right in the front. They see that every day, and they notice, hey, this little tooth is getting loose here. And that's kind of a bad time to treat it because we've lost a lot of bone in a lot of cases. A lot of times we can save it, but you want to get to it before it gets to that level.
Well, if you can't save it, you have to take it out?
There's several different ways. Sometimes we can splint it to the stronger teeth, put a special little plastic material or a wire there. Yeah, that will hold it in contact with the stronger teeth.
Does that wire have to stay in your mouth all the time?
There. Yeah, but it's not noticeable. This is similar to the wire that kids get after they get braces. We put a wire right there as a retainer. So it's not that bad. It's not noticeable. They don't feel it. It's smooth. You don't feel it. When we put it in there, it's a very, very, very thin wire, and it's covered with an acrylic that we use for bonding and polished real smooth, and patients don't even notice it. They'll notice it if that tooth was missing, though.
Signs that patients can look for where if they when they see, they should think, all right, something is not normal, would be, the little triangle of gums that we were talking about.
Yeah.
If that triangle is not pink and not flat, and it's rounded or blunted or puffy, or it gets bleeding in a certain area, that's a sign of, at the very least, gingivitis, which is the precursor to periodontal disease, gum disease.
Right.
Bleeding when you brush, that's the number one. That's the number one thing. If you see bleeding when you brush, something's not totally correct there.
And loose teeth and odor, of course.
Loose teeth, odor, yep. And also, you start to see exposed root surface on your teeth.
Exposed root?
Right. What happens is the gum pulls away from the tooth. Okay? Because there's no bone there for the gum to attach to, and the gum starts to pull away from the tooth. You've heard the phrase "long in the tooth." That phrase, that's an old phrase. It's been around for a long time.
You know what? It's a shame when you mention that. I thought about this movie I saw with Denzel Washington, Out of Something.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good little movie, but he had a relationship with Sanaa Lathan.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Denzel sure looks a little long in the tooth to be dealing with her
young
in this
her,
movie.
yeah, right,
You know, with her, she being younger, you saw the age difference. You really saw that age difference. And I said, God, he's getting a little long in the tooth, and I didn't know what that meant.
And that is exactly, back in the day, that's how people described it, because as they got gum disease, the gum area around the tooth would become recessed and show that root. So now your tooth, instead of looking like this long, it looked that long. The tooth didn't grow. It's just that the covering around that receded away and gives that appearance, and they associate that with getting older.
And another thing that you mentioned, and I've really been working at this all the time, is flossing.
Yep.
Flossing is so important. But, the reason why I do it is because I just feel sometimes like I always use trying to get air through the teeth as indicating that I need flossing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But sometimes some teeth are so close together.
Yeah, everybody's different with where their contacts are, where their teeth come together. But flossing, like you said, is very critical. You want to floss every day. Okay, whether you feel something there or not, there's probably a good chance something is up there.
And brushing alone will not clean the areas where the two teeth touch, and that's what you're getting through there. You can brush the outside, you can brush the top, but where the two teeth contact together, you're not cleaning that area there. So that floss has to get between there to remove any bacteria and food particles and plaque.
And the best way to floss, you put it down between the teeth and you just pull it out.
No, you go up and down.
Up and down.
Up and down. You never want to go side to side, but you always want to go up and down. You go side to side, you're going to saw into your gums. It's going to cause irritation.
Side to side.
Yeah, you never want to go. When you go in, you don't want to go side to side. You go up and down.
You don't want to go side to side like you're polishing a shoe. You want to go up and down.
Oh,
you want
like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't want to do like that. People
that's-
do that and they do it hard, and then they don't like it because it hurts, and they stop doing it because they're doing it incorrectly.
That's the way I try
up and
and
down.
clear it.
You just think of it. You want to sweep any particles out of the tooth.
Right.
You don't want to shine them into the tooth. You
Now,
want to lift
what
them
you were
out.
saying about pulling it through, if you have a really tight contact, if it's hard to get it back out of there, you can pull it out that way once you've gone up and down.
Right.
Right.
Because I'm just
Release
kind of
it.
modeling the dentist's office because they
Right.
go up and down,
Right.
and then they just pull it
Yeah,
down.
that's no problem. That's no
But
problem.
just release it with one hand and pull it through. Don't force it. If you get some resistance, you might be catching on the edge of a filling or a crown, and you can pull that filling or crown out with that floss if you're too vigorous with it. So just release with one hand and pull it through easily, gently.
Oh my goodness.
But that's a very important.
Another thing we talked about, and I want to reiterate this, is the connection with Alzheimer's disease again. Can we kind of talk about that real quick?
Sure. There's been a recent study that's been published in many of the journals that that relate the presence of chronic inflammation in the mouth to the plaques that form in the brain that are connected with Alzheimer's disease. And this is real research. This is not, something from off the internet. This is actual journal material. And there's always been a connection between chronic inflammation in the mouth and blood vessels and diabetes, and now they're actually doing the scientific research to connect that. Now, that's not to say gum disease causes Alzheimer's. What we're saying is that it can, according to these studies, it can contribute to it. It can contribute to an earlier onset or more severe.
What were you saying about the brain?
Basically, what their studies are showing is that Alzheimer's patients tend to have a more of a buildup of the bacteria that causes periodontal disease in the brain. Okay, and that bacteria is like an inflammatory target. Okay, so when that bacteria is there, it causes more inflammation.
The body has to fight stronger and harder and longer to try to eliminate that. And the bacteria from the oral cavity is not supposed to be in your brain.
Wow.
But once it crosses the into the bloodstream, it can travel where it wants to travel. So that's why the best thing to do is to eliminate that bacteria so there's not a preponderance of it.
So, I mean, a lot of times, people just don't have the money for all of this.
Right.
But you say if you kind of keep something going, getting your teeth clean, what can people who they have to get food, they have to make sure they have that roof over their head?
Right. Well, there's one of the problems we see, and there are areas, there's the dental school and there's other clinics that take Medicaid and that type of thing. But one of the problems we see is that we see patients, and this just happened recently, person comes in and they're missing a front tooth or they have gum disease. And they say, oh, well, it's going to cost X amount of dollars to get this done or whatever. And they'll say, well, I can't do that. But, they just came from the hair salon and they spent $200.
Yeah.
They got a $300 purse and they got $300 gym shoes on, but it's not important that they take care of their oral health. Sometimes it's just a priority. Dental care is health care. Now, if you fell on ice and broke your finger, you wouldn't say, hey, I can't get my finger taken care of because I don't have any money. But I'm going to go to the hair salon next and get my hair done for $200. So
Yeah, that's some people. That I granted,
yeah,
that
we
is
see
some
that.
people.
And
But
it's a lot of times the priorities too with that.
yeah, it's priorities and everything. But you all take dental insurance.
Yeah, we take
right?
dental insurance. We have other financing plans that we use for patients and that type of thing. But we try to assist people where we can. But let's see, the unfortunate thing is you have to run a business.
Oh yeah,
Have
you
to pay
do.
employees. I just got my bill from with Obamacare kicking in March 1st. I pay for my employees to have medical insurance. As an employer, I think that's something I have to do, and it's super expensive. And in this day and age, unfortunately, it makes it not as feasible as we used to be able to just give things away like we used to do.
Now, for what you're saying, though, patients who are low income, patients who have, if a patient is on Medicaid, there are clinics that take Medicaid throughout the city. Patients who are low income that don't have Medicaid, check and see if you qualify for it.
Right.
And if you are just low income, you don't have Medicaid, the dental school is a great option.
Okay, but you are a great option also.
That's true.
You all are,
That is
great. So why don't you tell the audience where you're located again if you don't know?
We're right here in Highland Park. We're on Woodward, 2 blocks north of the Davison, 13724 Woodward Avenue. Our phone number is 313-883-3050. There's somebody there now if you want to call them.
Yeah, call them now. I mean, and a checkup. Sometimes it's good to get a checkup. Just come in, get a dental checkup to see where you're standing.
Absolutely.
Correct.
And
correct.
then
Even if you have dentures, people think, oh, I don't have teeth anymore. I don't have to go to the dentist anymore. Same thing. We had a patient. She thought she had just bit her tongue, and she came to us, and the area where she had gotten sore, it didn't go away for a month. When she came to us, it looked like a full-blown cancer. So we sent her to have it biopsied. So hopefully it's not a cancer, but something like that you don't play around with. If something looks suspicious, any lumps or bumps, sores on your body that don't heal, you have to have that checked out.
Wow.
Don't neglect that. But here again, she thought she just bit her tongue, and we told her, no, you don't. If you bit your tongue, it would have healed by now.
well, there's so much involved in dental care, and like you say, dental care is health care, and your teeth do represent you.
Oh, yeah.
They do represent you. When you walk into an office for a job interview or somewhere, people are going to look at that.
Yeah, they judge you by your smile. They judge you by your appearance in general, but a lot of times, And I say we as people, we have beautiful teeth in general. We have some of the most. I mean, we take before and after pictures of a lot of patients, and sometimes we just take pictures of patients because their smile is just awesome. It's just perfect, and it's so good to see, young people especially, and seniors. We see a lot of seniors. We have seniors that are pushing into their 90s that have all of their teeth.
All of their teeth.
And they've been coming to us for 30 years, and they just come get a cleaning.
Right. Well,
But they are so proud of their teeth. They would not let anything happen to them. They are so proud. It's happy to see that.
well, you know what I got to hear you say?
Oh,
If
if your teeth are not becoming to you, then you should be coming to us.
okay, Dr. Blake, I need you to join in.
All right. If your teeth are not becoming to you.
Wait. Start it on
All right.
how do
Oh,
we do
yeah,
it?
right. If your teeth are not becoming to you,
then you should be coming to us.
Yes. Okay, everybody. Once again, the Livingstons will be back here. We're having a little trouble with our phones. So I know people are trying to call, but we're having a little trouble with the phones. We're trying to connect another one. But they'll be back in just a few weeks. So get your questions ready, and I'll let you know when they'll be back. And thank you, Dr. Ron.
thank you,
And
Ms.
thank you,
Perryman.
Dr.
It's always
Blake.
No problem.
Pleasure
Thanks
to
for having
come.
us.
Oh, you all, I mean, there's so much to know.
Yeah.
I know.
See you in a minute with Debbie and Bruce. Good morning again, and welcome to the Brenda Perryman Show right here on TV 33, WHPR, Comcast 20 in Detroit. And now I have with me two friends, but also two pillars of the community. I have Miss Deborah White Hunt, Mrs. Deborah White Hunt, and her other half, Mr. Bruce Hunt. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Brenda.
And they are the founders of Detroit Windsor Dance Company. And Detroit Windsor Dance Company, well, why don't you give us a little overview of what it is?
Go ahead, Deb.
Detroit Windsor Dance Company and Detroit Windsor Dance Academy. We're celebrating our 30th anniversary this year, and basically it's a school where we train and instruct and educate all minds, all bodies, all spirits, all souls on dance. And we believe that through dance you can just learn everything else about life. And this is the calling and the gift that we have been given. We teach children from ages 2. Our oldest is 92. And we have many, many different dance forms that we teach. We teach ballet, jazz, tap, liturgical, African, modern, hip-hop, Zumba,
Wow.
ballroom, mommy and me, daddy, daughter, toddler time. I could go
Everything.
on.
And you're located at the new Center One
Yes.
building, right?
Yes.
Now, Bruce is the son of the great Mr. Ted Hunt.
That's correct.
And a lot of you have heard of Mr. Ted Hunt, motivational speaker, song and dance man. I mean, this man is such an inspiration, and that's your dad.
Yes, he is. Yes, he's been my inspiration as well. Now,
Right, right, and you're looking so much like him.
I know.
I know, as we get older. Bruce and I went to college together, so we've known each other, 10 years. No, I'm just kidding. We've known each other a long time. It's like we've grown up together, as a matter of fact. Well, the dance company has been around for 30 years, and there's a very interesting story about how they came up with the name of the dance company. So who wants to tell that?
I guess I will. 'Cause, on our honeymoon, we decided we'd already started the dance company. The dance academy started a year before we decided to get married. So on our honeymoon, before we left and flew off to places and wow, whatever, we spent the night in Windsor, and we were looking across at Detroit at the skyline, and we realized that this is the Detroit-Windsor metropolitan area, and there's so much here. And so we said, this is what we're going to name this academy, Detroit-Windsor Dance Academy.
And there was such a creative way, making it international. It made it international also.
We tried to celebrate the fact that we're one of the few people or places in this country that share the border. We have an international sister city connection.
International waters.
Yes.
And everything.
And very few states can say that.
Very few,
Yeah.
very few, and I don't think they had the creativity to do something like that either. I think Debbie is so creative. I mean, and Bruce, and to watch a husband and wife work together like this. And let's talk about where you started.
Okay. And I want to say a little bit and tie this in too with our name, because we started in Paradigm, which is in Harmony Park.
Right.
Which is now it has a new name. I can't think of it.
They call it
Paradise Valley. Yeah, because of all the history from Paradise Valley. But we started in a little loft on the 3rd floor, and we shared the space with several other artists.
Donald Walden.
Yes, he was in that space, and Gene Delgado was there.
Right.
And so we
I
we
love
had other.
that.
Oh,
I
yes.
love that space. I even did a drama workshops there
Yes.
too.
And it was a loft, and all the artists, would share it, and a couple of them lived there. And so we had another artist who was a dancer, and his name was Huther White. And he did a lot of contact improv, and we would share mailing lists so that we could all, just work together and grow. So he sent his information out about his concert, and it was a postcard, and it had 2 dogs, and they were facing each other, and they were barking. And so when our friends got the card, they said, Bruce, did Debbie change her name? Because his name was Huther White. And he said, well, what is she into now? Dogs barking. And so that's when we realized that we needed our own identity. And that's when we started searching for names. And it wasn't until we got married and we're looking back at this beautiful, city skyline, where we live, and you have to get away sometimes from things and look back at them to really appreciate them.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what happened. And so Bruce said, he was looking out the window, he said, Detroit, Windsor. And I said, that's it, that's the name. So people
Detroit,
ask
Windsor
us all the time.
Dance Academy. I remember asking a long time ago too, when the poem, even maybe before the poem came around, and you're getting ready to have a 30th anniversary crystal ball, right?
Yes, we are.
I remember the first crystal ball.
Yes.
And
Lights,
everything.
tights.
Why don't you, lights, tights, ready for action,
action.
ladies and gentlemen? I present for your satisfaction
A saga and retrospect.
of how this journey began. So let's get ready. Maestro, strike up
the
your
band.
band.
Oh, see, I remember.
Right. That was so interesting, and it was just so much fun. And I got the chance at one of those crystal balls, because you had it at the Moten House.
Yeah, the Moten's home in Bloomfield. Yes.
Yes, and I remember one instance, because Aretha lived at the house next door on that court.
Yes.
Echo Court.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, she just she and I were sitting at the table. So I said, well, let me make conversation, because Aretha was just sitting there. And I said, so you're going to be on Murphy Brown this coming Monday. I'll never forget that. She said, yes. I said, and you're singing Natural Woman, because they had done some kind of promo of it on television. Murphy Brown was really, really excited and had done some kind of promo of it. And so we kind of talked about that. How did you enjoy it? You blah, blah, blah. So, Aretha can be a woman of many words or a woman of few words.
That's true.
And I remember later on people coming up to me saying, girl, introduce me to Aretha. I said, I don't know her. but she always has remembered me, because we had the same doctor and stuff, and I come into doctor's office, she's sitting there, I'm saying, she said the poet, things like that, or just always very nice, very, very nice to me. And then I went to a party at her house, and then what was the conversation? About the doctor, how much we love the doctors. So I met her at your place, and wow. These are some posters. You can't see them real well, people, but I could tell you about them. This is a poster about the Crystal Ball, which is Saturday, March 15th.
Yes, it is.
It's like 3 weeks away.
Yes.
3 weeks.
Coming fast.
Why don't you tell everyone who the honorary chairs are?
Well, this year we're blessed to have Miss Aretha Franklin and Mr. Elliott Hall. They will be our honorary chairs this year. And they have embraced Detroit Windsor, and we really, really appreciate them lending their names and lending their time and their efforts to us.
Oh, yes. Just so much. I mean, you built a legacy here. Mm-hmm. You have. And on the 15th, you're having the 30th anniversary. Doesn't time fly?
Yes, it does. Because from that little time in Harmony Park, then we always, would go into a place that no one wanted. It was abandoned, and we put in our hearts, sweat and tears, blood, sweat and tears, and, made it, livable and lovable. And then someone else with a whole lot of money would come in. And as you see, Harmony Park is now all developed. And so then we moved to Broadway. We were on Library Street. We were in galleries. We were in the Annis Fur building. We moved.
We have had 9 moves.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that many.
And it may not sound like it, but it cost a lot of money to move, as you all know.
Yes.
So every time we've even moved once in the building that we're in.
You did?
We moved from the 2nd floor to the 3rd floor.
We were in the old Crowley space. And then one day we were told, okay, someone wants this space. You've got to go. We were like, what? And I'll never forget, it was late on a Friday evening, and I just couldn't believe my ears.
And we moved over a weekend. I cannot believe that we moved that
You're
entire
kidding.
over a weekend.
Tell us about this photo.
Oh, you really like this, Brenda. This is a photo at one of the Crystal Balls, and myself and Cicely Moulton, who was the hostess, she and Ron Moulton hosted the ball. My soror, my sans, Delta Sigma Theta, and all the women in the picture are members of Delta Sigma Theta sorority as well. So my sorors have always supported
you.
Yes.
In fact, speaking of Delta Sigma Theta, I'm performing Sunday at Delta Sigma Theta's Black History Month program.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
That's where Daryl Taylor, I think, is
Right.
heading that Arts and Letters committee.
Right.
Yes.
Daryl asked me to do it, and so I'm performing it with a little jazz in the background.
Wonderful.
Just music.
This will be the second time you've done that, isn't it?
Yeah, I was in something else with you with
Yes.
Delta Sigma Theta too. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, but I just believe in sisterhood.
Amen.
Period.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Sisterhood. Wherever I'm needed, I go if I can.
Yes.
I remember that day. That was it was a Founders Day, and Debbie chose people from all walks of life, and Brenda was one of our outstanding.
Well, I enjoy. We're all we're all sisters of Mother Africa.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I said.
That's right.
But I was in there too. So it was
Yes, you were there, too.
One brother, a few
I
brothers. of
remember
Africa.
that.
Brothers.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we had a. I
Was
don't
Teddy
remember.
in it?
Yes, he was.
And
Yes.
it was an African history celebration that we were doing during Founders Day that
Right.
year.
I think I remember having something kind of African inspired on.
Yes,
Everybody.
we all had on
yeah,
African
yeah,
garments.
yeah. And here's some other pictures. This is with, ladies and gentlemen, this is with Smokey Robinson. Tracks of my tears.
And Esther
And
Gordy.
Esther
And
Gordy.
Esther Gordy is in there, the late, great Esther
Right.
Gordy. Oh, my
Yes.
goodness. And I see Mignon, who has gone on. Well, she still works with you, but she's performed all over the world, hasn't
Yes, she has, and
And-
she's a regular performer with Aretha Franklin as well.
Right.
And she invited us actually to dance with her when she was here in December at the soundboard.
Right.
That was beautiful.
Mignon has been a member of Detroit Windsor for 30 years.
For
she
30
was our first,
years.
one of our first students, and she has taught with us, and she still performs with us.
I remember those little girls and a couple of guys teaching drama to them.
Yes, right.
Yes, yes. And
They
here's
had to have
Barry
it on.
Sanders.
Yes, he was one of our honorary chairs the year Omnicare was our major sponsor.
He's sitting like a man, too.
We had fun that day. He came to the studio and met the students.
Dr. Combs and Mr. Dobson
Robbins.
were the hosted
Robbins.
us that year.
Yes.
Oh, okay. And here's Dennis Archer and his wife. And
Yes, and that's Rod Gillum as well. And he and his wife, Dr. Linda Gillum, are also sponsors this year. He has presented us with a wonderful gift from the Kellogg Foundation.
wow.
Right.
Yes.
Very, very nice.
We're very, very just humbled and honored with the work that our friends and our supporters are bringing, so that the children, the vulnerable children, the ones that have all the talent, not that other children don't, because all of our children are very talented. In fact, when we were in New York once, Alvin Ailey said, so much talent in Detroit, why doesn't someone cultivate it there? And I believe, he was speaking into my life at that time. Because New York, I loved it, but I'm a city girl. I mean, a country city girl, meaning I need the trees and the grass and the water,
That's
the river.
funny. Because
It's
you
true.
always, I wrote this one poem about New York once called Apples and Oranges, or it may be one of the other ones, where I talk about trees and grass.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Because my
absolutely.
family is from New York, well, by way of South Carolina, and my brother was born in my older brother was born in Harlem Hospital, and I remember the first time I went there, it was the year of the World's Fair. Now you have to do your research on that.
Yes.
I know the year. Anyway, I remember going there and saying, "God, where's some grass? I just want some grass." We were staying in Brooklyn and everything, and that's what I miss. And so when you say city country, I really
Yes.
relate to that.
Yes, I was walking down the street one day and I said, "Oh, I miss the trees." And someone said, "There's a tree. It was a tree in a pot." I said, "No, that's not a tree." I said, "And I miss the grass." And they said, "There's some grass," and it was some blades of grass sticking up between the cracks in the sidewalk. I said, "No, that's not grass. It's time for me to go home."
Only time
Right.
you see in New York or Manhattan, you got to go to Central Park.
Yeah, Central
Yeah.
Park.
That's it. I love New York, but after 2 weeks, I get real itchy. Number one, you stand in line everywhere. And
Well, just about. I've kind of
Very crowded.
lived there at different times. I mean, when I say live there, go there for a little extensive amount of time, and I don't go. Those are the times I don't go to shop or anything. I just go. I'm staying with somebody or something like that, and just doing something artsy or
Okay.
whatever. That's what I kind of do. And I remember one time going to one of the times I went to see a play, and Kathy Bates was in the play, the actress Kathy Bates. She wasn't a star then. A lot of people, I have friends who are actors, so a lot of these big time actors, you see them performing in church basements and
Oh,
all
yes.
that. Because the one thing good about New York is you can do art anywhere.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I noticed that here in the city, people are starting to do that. do art anywhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's a good thing.
I think Detroit is like a cottage industry for arts, and we have it. There's art popping up everywhere, but it always did. We did for a point. There was a time when we lost the funding for the arts, but we didn't lose the art, and we didn't lose the artist. They just
Right.
didn't have the place to express themselves.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And these are some of your dancers. You train them so well. Where is
you,
the
Brenda.
concert this year?
Concert this year is at Music Hall.
Oh, it's at the music hall
Right.
again. Oh, excellent, excellent. And these are pictures, ladies and gentlemen, of some of the dancers, and of course, the husband and wife who dance so exquisitely together.
We love to dance.
I know.
But it was really
Jenkins.
interesting. When I first met my wife, I asked her to dance, and she told me no.
Really?
But that's another story, Brenda. I had my eye on someone else, and he was cramping my style.
Yeah.
Of course, the other person didn't know I existed and could
So-
care less.
So tell me this. Oh, they didn't know you existed.
No.
Tell me this now. How can, if I want to go to this crystal ball on March 15th at the Rooster Tail, correct?
Yes.
They have like the best food.
Yes,
Don't
they
they though?
do.
There
Yes,
is
they
food,
do.
right?
Yes,
there is.
yes.
Okay. That's the way I always used to get my
Wonderful
kids to go
food.
somewhere. They got food. So, where can we find out about it as far as costs and everything like that?
Well, you
We're
can call the studio at 313-872-7200.
313-872-7200.
Yes, and you can go to our Facebook page, and you can
And that's
get all
Detroit
that
Windsor
information.
Dance Academy or your Facebook page?
The Detroit Windsor Dance
Dance
Academy Facebook page.
Okay.
Yes, and you can. Our website is under construction right now. We're very, not happy about that, but the information, you can get it from us. You can get it on. You can email us at detwindance@aol.com. That's DETWINDANCE.
Det Win, like Detroit Windsor.
That's correct.
Det Win Dance.
At AOL.com.
Gosh, I'm just like a teacher, man. Just trying to
We
break it
are
on down.
teachers.
Oh yes, we are teachers.
Yes.
Debbie is a teacher, and you used to teach in Detroit public schools
For over 20 years,
Right.
I did. And so you taught
You
in
taught.
Southfield.
and
Weren't you in
Highland
Highland
Park,
Park?
Highland Park, home of the polar bears. I'm speaking at a reunion this year. I just last night I got a thing about it. I confirmed it last year. I forgot. But anyway, I think that this is going to be a wonderful night. And what do we have planned in that night? What's going to happen?
Oh, it's just, first of all, it's a very elegant affair. When our people are dressed in black and white, it's a creative
I love
black
your
tie
tie.
attire. The young lady created this for me.
That is beautiful.
Her name is Gina Culler, and she's a sister of one of my Bates Academy students, my Bates babies. And I sent her a picture of this shirt, which I love, and she made the tie to go with it, and she's creating another one for the ball.
Oh, wow.
So, but it's an elegant affair, and the dance company will present a dance for everyone. We'll have a reception, a VIP reception. We also have this wonderful food. They have this pan-fried trout that we just look forward to every year. We have a silent auction. People have donated some wonderful items.
But mainly, it is a party. It is
A
a
party
party.
and
Yes,
celebration.
Yes.
Celebration.
Oh Lord, we everybody. The time has gotten away from us. We've just old home weeked it to death. So March 15th, Det Win Dance at AOL.com.
Yes.
Information.
Or 313-872-7200.
313-872-7200. March 15th. Rooster Tail.
There you
Thank you
go.
guys for
Thank
coming
you.
on the
Thank you.
show.
Thanks a lot, Brenda.
And we'll see you. Well, this afternoon we have a special show from the Grid Grill Midtown, and that will be on Table Talk. Will be on this afternoon at 1. See you then. Bye.